right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our bi-monthly Builders Call. I created a different kind of topic today because it is a transferable topic between selling real estate and building. Of course, the context of this call is building. However, at the end of the day, what we create or what we don't create always comes down to the human that's involved, which would be me for me and you for you, and then the other people that we interact with. So there's the system of how we do things to be able to duplicate and scale. There's systems that happen in real estate. And then there's this human element, right? And the managing of the human element and the strengthening of the human element, when someone can get that dialed in, everything else is a byproduct. So I'm sure you've heard it said that as your inner world goes, so your outer world manifests, or something like that. Is that our world on the outside is never going to be anything other than the reflection of the worlds that we have on the inside. And the great news about that is that we have full influence and control over our worlds on the inside, based on choices that we make and ways and things that there are to do to set ourselves up to optimize effectiveness and success. So as we jump into this topic today, I see some new faces or new names that are on. I want to invite everybody that is joining into the conversation, whether you're listening or plan to be an active participant and share, to come on video so that we've got some great human connection and interaction. And we don't care what you're doing in the background or if you have other things going on in the background, we like to see your faces. So to kick off this topic, and the topic for today is mastering belief, posture, and true confidence. I'd like to hear from everyone just what comes up for you or what came to your mind when you hear that title. And this is where you can jump off mute and share. There's no wrong answers. It's just what came up for you when you heard the title.
What title? Can you repeat that again, please? I'm sorry.
Yep, the title is Mastering Belief, Posture, and True Confidence.
Grit. That's what I think about, grit.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Who else?
When I seen it, I thought about just like unlocking more potential in ourselves.
Okay, unlocking more potential. Resilience. Stacy, what came up for you?
The true confidence aspect. I feel like a lot of agents or people in general post on social media and they show confidence, but there's a huge difference between showing it or the perception and what is truly inside. And I feel like when you started this, that's what you started to talk about was our inner being, and in relation to the outside world. So true confidence, I think is extremely important. And most people don't have it, including realtors.
Okay, thank you for that. Natalie, how about you? In the topic, mastering belief, posture, and true confidence, what came up for you? Just what were the thoughts that came up?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Get rid of the chairs.
I think
I heard Simon selling his
for me,
ownership.
just being better and just learning and growing and just being the better version of me.
Okay, cool. And then Charlie was coming off mute as well. I think Charlie said ownership. Yeah. So we've got grit, resilience, power, personal growth, total responsibility for everything. And fantastic. Okay, so for those of you that are just joining into the conversation, Rocio, Amanda, Charlie, this topic that we're developing today is mastering belief, posture, and true confidence. So there is a saying that, and you can say this however you'd like to say it, is that he or she who is most certain wins. Or if you don't like to put it in a he or she reference based on your perspectives, you could say the human that is most certain wins, whoever that's going to be. And when I think about that, I think about that being true in every single aspect of life. So think about your interpersonal relationship. Let's say a relationship that you have with a significant other. And there's times where I'm sure you could identify where like you are clear and you are certain and that is it. And there is no level of uncertainty that your partner may have that will exceed your level of certainty. So it doesn't matter how unclear, or they don't believe what you're saying, or they don't have the same perspective, or they don't think that's how it's going to be. You know that you know that you know that you know, and you're not willing to budge off of it because you know it. And then, of course, because you know it in that way, in my experience, the majority of times it is that way. And, Rick and I would always go back and forth in this conversation, and he would say, you just want to be right. I'm like, no, I actually really want to be wrong. There is nothing more that I would like in this moment than to be wrong. However, when you know that you know that you know from an unwavering place, and it's where you stand in, it's what you stand for, and that is what is. It doesn't matter the perspectives of anyone else. They're not going to shake or waver that level of certainty. So where does this come into play? This comes into play for people that are already with the XP, that maybe, we're in this space where it's bright, shiny object syndrome about what can I buy that's going to make the business and my difference, make the difference in my business, or what are other people doing, or what are other versions of cloud-based companies doing that might be better for me. And so all of these things come up when somebody doesn't know that they know that they know. And in relationships, this is the same thing, because if you're in a relationship that you don't know that you know that you know, you're not going to more than likely be like, you're going to be open to seeing what else is out there, right? Because it's like, there's like, yeah, there's part of this that's working for me, but I don't know that I know that I know. And so this foundation of having an unwavering belief and true confidence and posture is so important, because it is the foundation that we operate from. And I know when I'm in a conversation with someone that has that and I don't on a particular subject, I am more than likely going to end up buying into their certainty, their confidence, their posture, their belief, because I'll be a person that stands there and asks the questions to think, why do you think like that? Why are you so strong in that perspective? Why are you unwavering in that? And why are you so confident about where you stand in that? And when someone knows that, they're able to articulate that. And in the articulation of that, they can enroll other people into that perspective. Does everyone have that experience of being enrolled by someone into something that maybe you were like, I don't know. And then you come across someone that is so clear, that's so confident, and you take the time to have that conversation. You're like, oh, wow, I see what they see. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so the question is, how do we get to that place in ourselves? And then what is the process? Because everything's about duplication. How do we duplicate that with and for others? So people that may be coming into our organizations, or people that may already be in our organizations for the moment. Because just because they're coming into an organization doesn't mean they're staying in an organization. So
Right.
what are your thoughts, and what is, based on your experience? I'd love to get some collective, shared experience of what you guys have seen or are developing, whether maybe it hasn't been intentionally up till this point and it's just something that's more organic, or maybe it is something that you're putting intention on and a focus on and are seeing some traction with. Would love to just hear from you what that is.
I'll share, or go ahead, Leo.
No, go for it. Go for it. You can go for it, bro. Yeah.
I was gonna say I love this subject, Casey, because it was just a great reminder. It was something that I've been reflecting on what like was working before. And it was like some of the basics, like having these EXP explains, right? And I know I've gone away from it, certainly less than in the past. And in the past, what was working was that it created like subject confidence in those that would attend and that would plug in. So as our agents continue to attend these EXP Explains, they became more subject matter experts in the information, and it enabled them to create probably more confident conversations with other agents. So I kind of had to like slap myself on the head and be like, hey, let's go back to the basics here and reintroduce those conversations. So then that way the agents create, that way we create duplication.
Okay. Now you hit on a couple of things that are really important there, because in something like, let's take an EXP Explained, there's one person in that event that is going to grow more and get clearer in confidence, posture, certainty, clarity than anyone else at that event. Who is the person?
It's going to be the person that's being first introduced.
Okay. My experience is it's the person that is presenting the information. So, and the reason why I say that is going back to growing up in network marketing, right? And there was a 5-point presentation, and the presentation was market trends, products and innovation, company compensation, and timing. And it was done in either a 30 or a 45-minute deal. And I remember like there was so much there, and I was about 3 weeks into my business. And Charlie, you guys hear me talk about him often, he's like, "Okay, you're presenting next time." And I was like, and we were at the event, and he's like, "I want you to present." And I'm like, I'm not ready to present. And he's like, "Do you know what the 5 points are?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know the 5 points, but I don't know everything to say about those 5 points." He's like, "Great. You'll get better every time you do it." And so he would say, I mean, and this is like when you have somebody that you see as a leader that may not see themselves as a leader yet, but you can see them as a leader. When you throw them into that conversation and just like, "Oh no, you don't have time to prepare for it." You see what comes out. And then at the end of every one, we go, "Okay, what was effective and what could be improved and what are you going to do next time?" And so I learned there that the person that is in the front of the room, that is there to influence the people that are sitting in the room, you pull up from within a level of confidence, posture, belief. Even if you don't feel like you have it in that moment, you have it for whatever it is that you're going to say, and you bring it connected to that content. And so the greatest way to accelerate somebody's leadership that I've seen from that kind of confidence perspective and true confidence is throw them into a place where they're not confident that they've got to influence people and be the messenger of the message. And so if we look at like, okay, now we're building this. Now imagine, okay, we're doing, EXP Explains again. And every time that we do one, let's say it's weekly, it's a different person in the organization. It's like, "Hey, you're up for this one. You're up for this one. You're up for this one." And then the host, like, let's say, Joseph, you're the host. You could be the person that opens the event and closes the event, that fills in whatever you feel may not have gotten communicated that's important to anchor the event. And so the audience will always get the value. And there's an incredible amount of value that comes to a new person being in the room, seeing somebody that is new or different in that conversation at the front of the room having it. And so this is an incredible way, if we're looking at like, what can I do for myself? I can be the person that volunteers when I'm not ready to volunteer to be doing that, to be doing the model explained. And can I say 1 or 2 things about each point? And maybe it's not going to look the same as somebody that's done it, 100 times. However, it's going to look like what it looks like for me. And I know that Joseph's there and he's opening and closing the event. He's got my back. And so, together we'll get that message across. But in the meantime, we're developing that, right? So in my experience, if you have, and I mean, we all have this, right? Is we'll have people that come into, the organization, and in the energy curve that we've talked about a lot, which is startup. It's where everything's exciting. It's the honeymoon phase. It's like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe it." And then, that energy lasts don't know, 6 to 12 months, maybe. And then it starts to shift into a different energy. And usually by the end of year 2, going into year 3, this is where if people haven't put themselves in a place to stretch, to grow, to really be integrated, like attending the events, plugging into these kind of conversations and resources through the organization, and being very intentional with a plan on how they're going to upgrade their belief and their confidence. They sit in the same exact space that they came in with, except for with a different energy, and that's an energy that's gone down. And so now you take things like, oh, the real estate market is doing whatever the real estate market's doing. The interest rates are doing whatever interest rates are doing. And my friend who doesn't sell any real estate just went to, XYZ company, and I wonder why. And now I'm having a conversation with them, and it's like they're really excited. I had somebody that called me that wanted to talk to me on Saturday and pick my brain per se. That's not what was actually true, because they had an agenda. They were attempting to enroll me. And so, they use the words ground floor and newer opportunities or more opportunity. And, I said, are you looking for my feedback, or are you attempting to enroll me? Because I can give you feedback on what your experience is going to be based on the language that you just used on what you bought into. And based on that language, I would run as far and as fast the other direction as humanly possible. And she was like, what? But so now we go back into this conversation about true confidence and posture and certainty. So by the time we ended that conversation, I'm like, hey, I support you 100%. And I hope for your sake that it is everything that you're being sold that it's going to be for you. And when it's not, I'll be here. And so she came to that call with a certain level of confidence, energy, and posture. And she left that call with a lot less confidence, energy, and posture because of the level of my confidence, energy, and posture on the topic. And so if we want to think about this idea about grit or becoming resilient or being resilient, the greatest thing that we can have for ourselves and for our organizations is people that have trained their minds and their emotions to have a healthy relationship between those two things. So not to be running and coming from a place of scarcity or defense, but to stand in a truly neutral, just very strong, powerful, unwavering space. So Joseph, you said, what you mentioned is that confidence and building that, going back to what was working in the beginning, doing EXP Explains. Who else has something that you are doing intentionally, or that as you think about it, it's like, oh, I have been doing this and it wasn't necessarily intentionally, but when I do this, my confidence, posture, and certainty goes up? Or maybe people in your organizations that you're witnessing their confidence, posture, certainty go up as they do certain things. What would be, would love to hear from some other people.
I like pulling in, there's one girl that I trust that's really good, and she's mastered newsletters for KV Core. So she's taught the class to everybody in our organization twice. And we would joke because everybody would forget what she said and we need to do it again. But when I empower her, that her confidence does go up substantially, and that emboldens her to do other things. When I am the soundbite or the person, I have to master it like a teacher. So like a Jedi, and then pass it on to others. My challenge is that people are not as passionate about mastering that as I am. So next week, I'm going to do the Builders Boot Camp with people and review everything, because I can't tell you how many people in my organization I've shown they don't understand the 7 levels. And it took me like a couple months, but I got it pretty quick because we get paid a lot of money. And I have shown, hey, here's the video. Hey, here's where to find it. I've gone over it, and people like kids, they forget it because they have to remember other stuff. So my challenge is educating my people all the time.
So
it is.
So to stay consistent and stay in front of people with that reminder or the stretch to plug in, and then having them take ownership by teaching what they're excelling in for the benefit of others. When you teach it, you master it. Yeah. So here's one thing that is very simple to do. It's also very simple not to do. And when we talk about this idea of true confidence, it is a game changer. So Rick would say, it's it's do what you said you would do when you said you would do it.
Integrity.
Yeah, do what you said you would do when you said you would do it. So this brings up a couple of things. A lot of people won't commit to something by a certain time. Oh yeah, I'm going to work on that project this week. Oh yeah, I worked on it, but I didn't complete it. Versus this project that I'm working on this week will be done by Friday at noon before I go into the weekend. And by putting a stake in the ground and making a commitment and then actually delivering on that commitment, that person's self-confidence goes up with themselves, because I am creating a pile of evidence that what I say I am going to do happens. And every time what I say I'm going to do happens, now I have this mountain of evidence that I am reliable, I am dependable, I am a person of integrity, and I can sit in front of someone else and say, listen, here's what's going to happen. Here's how it's going to happen, right? I was reminded of this yesterday because and I'm going to, for entertainment purposes, show you the video because I think it would bring a smile to all of your faces. So this video is from 9 years ago. It was the year Rick and I got married. It's a 30-second blurb. It was the year that we got married. And at that point in time, so it's 2015. So 2 years before we come to EXP. And he's at a tiny little brokerage with 2 other agents at that point. And life is like not what it is today. We'll just say that. And so he had, at that point in time, his retirement, strategy was Nu Skin. And he had been, working in the business sort of, but not ever doing what he said he was going to do. And so I was like, yeah, you do you, I'll do me. And so he had reached this milestone where he put a line in the sand and he was like, yes, I'm going to get this done by, this time. And he did. And so our honeymoon trip to Punta Cana in the Dominican Republic was, it was actually that incentive trip that he earned. All of himself, and his confidence was through the roof. And so what happened on that trip though was very interesting because we had a luncheon that we were a part of, and there was multiple people in the luncheon. And the value of this story really anchors the confidence, posture, clarity, certainty, and being willing to put your butt on the line for something and then actually do it. So what you see in this picture on the left-hand side is Christy, who's a business partner of ours in Sweden. Nathan Ricks is in the orange shirt that you've heard me talk about a lot. He's the one that was my main mentor who passed away when his airplane crashed in January of 2023. Amanda is next to him in the black shirt, and she's a former Olympic bobsledder. And then, of course, there's me and Rick. There's Charlie, who's a former pro athlete, and Kelly, who's one of our business partners as well. And we're sitting around the table, and Nathan says to me, hey, Casey, when are you going to be a Blue Diamond? And I was like, hey, I don't really care about title. I don't need that kind of recognition, and I don't need dots after my name or people to think I'm something because of that. I'm building a business, and my business is about people succeeding and, to be quite honest, about financial freedom. And I'll never forget what he said to me, because as we were sitting at the table, he said, well, that's good for you, except for how does your team know that they can do it if you don't go do it? And so what happened after that is we had a trip planned for April 2015, and Christy, that you see on the far left, she went and created the promotional flyers for that trip. And it was welcoming us as new Blue Diamonds into the Denmark market, which we were not. And so this trip was the end of February that we were in Punta Cana. And so we had basically the month of March. And it was insane the amount of work that it was going to take to get that done. However, so Rick said, we were in this conversation, and Rick says, well, we'll just have her change the flyer. That's easy. And then it'll be, in integrity, we'll change the flyer. And I'm like, I'm not having her change the flyer. She's put the flyer out now. This message is out there. It's time to step up and to do it and to create it. And so it was way harder than we thought, but we were vocal about what was going to happen. We were vocal that it was happening. Every conversation we were in, every call we were on, we kept declaring that. And we got up to the last 24 hours of that deadline. And this is midnight on the last day of March in 2015, which is when that deadline was.
It is March 31st. So
No, it isn't. Sorry.
it just hit April 1st.
April Fools, not
Not a fool. No,
No.
not us. We just hit Blue Diamond after collectively, between the two of us, 32 hours of smiling and dialing, taking orders and putting them in. And that has all happened in the last 24 hours, 32 hours of cumulative work, which
Yeah.
looks on paper something like
all of that.
lots of new business.
At
However,
At
we
one
were
point, we
committed.
had our laptops side by side, just entering and entering and entering.
So we are so excited to be coming to Europe as New Blue Diamonds to work with you and your teams. Know that anything is possible if you're willing to sit on your butt and get it done.
That's right.
We're looking forward to seeing y'all.
Casey Council, Rick Geha. See you soon.
Peace out.
So that experience, and it has no context because you don't know that business, but that was like an out of body experience. And when we did it, and once the deadline hits, I mean, everything has to be in the system and there is no wiggle room. And so my sister brought us food. We did not get up. I mean, we did what it took to get it done. And we committed that we were doing that. We declared it. People knew it, and it was done. And so what happened for us as a result of putting our butts on the line and making it that public and working to that result, and then being able to publicly tell that story of that, like the amount of belief, confidence, and posture that Rick built in himself and that I built in myself. Like, I will not make a commitment if I do not know that I am not willing to do it like 1000% butt on the line. And when I do, I know that it's going to mean all kinds of stuff's going to happen. It was that month was the biggest disaster. We had one of our leaders in our organization decided he was going to another company and took a bunch of people with him and basically fleeced a huge part of the organization. So it made like quadruple the work for us to hit the milestones. Like, there was all kinds of just horrible things that happened that had never happened in 7 years of our business. And so this is what happens when you do that. But the intangible thing that no one can ever take from you is that confidence, posture, clarity, certainty. Like, you know that you know what you're made of. And Cortland has come and talked to us about resilience. And, you know, when you drop a vase and it breaks and it shatters, that, you know, well, that's not what you're made of. You're like a basketball. You're resilient. You have the traits and characteristics that, you know, we come into the world with, about that ability to bounce back, to learn, to grow, to be persistent, to be confident, to be relentless, like the way that a small child is. Like, that's the things that all of us are made of. And yet so many of the people that we're in business with, and sometimes even ourselves, forget that. And the reason we forget that is because we haven't created a place for us to step up and actually go prove it to ourselves over and over again. And so as I think about, you know, as I think about the climate that we're in right now, and, you know, what it would look like, and if you can imagine, like, I imagine the people in our organization that I know, because there's a lot of agents that I don't know. And I imagine what it would look like for them to have that kind of confidence, like true confidence that is, you know, if there's nothing going on social media, when they walk in a room, they command a room and you can feel it, and they haven't even said anything, because it's an energy that they're living in their bodies and their lives. And that is what's possible for everybody. It's possible for everyone. And so how do we be more intentional on the development and the creation of that, right? And so I want to, you know, continue to, in this conversation, come up with ideas, right? So we've got 2 so far. So Joseph brought the one about doing EXP Explains, and we talked about some ways to help develop people and develop ourselves. In that, we talked about doing what you said you would do when you said you would do it. And I mean, this could be something little, right? I'm working out with this trainer. You guys know I'm working out with a new trainer. And so we started to have this conversation about food plan, and we had it last week. And so he gave me a little piece of paper, And he said, this is going to be an experiment. And he said, if you like, we're not going to know the true results of the experiment unless you do it the way it's designed to be done. And he said, I've had this conversation with some people and it takes them 2 years. They're like 70%, they're 80%, but they don't actually do it. And they're, in 2 years to training with me and we're doing the workouts and then they go, okay, I'm ready to do the nutrition, and they take it on and they do it. And he said, so, what do you want to do? And I said, I will do exactly what you tell me to do. And I will do it 100%. And we'll see. And so, what did that mean? That means I'm grocery shopping and food prepping on Sunday to make sure that I've got everything measured out and like really dialed in to be doing that. Okay. Is that inconvenient for me? Yes. However, I committed, right? And it's not about me looking a certain way. It's about, let's run an experiment and see what happens when we do this the way that he's designed on the plan. Right. And so every day I got through yesterday. Yesterday was a horrible, I cried on and off most of yesterday. It was just a really tough day. And I was booked back to back from 8:15 till 6:30 last night, and it never eased up or got easier. And I went to the refrigerator and I ate off my alarm of what time I was supposed to be eating and what I was supposed to be doing. And I woke up this morning and I was like, you know what? Yesterday was a really hard day and I did what I said I was going to do. And so this morning I woke up feeling like a better version of me, a more confident version of me, and a committed version of me. And I'm like, you know what? I made it through one day. What is there for me to do today? Today is the next day. I'm going to make it through today too. And so we can build and for our agents and for people that are coming into our organizations, what if there was just and we say, what are you going to do to set yourself up to success? And let's keep the bar low so that no matter what, you can hit it so that we can start building that confidence and posture. And after that's not a no issue for you and it keeps going, then we're going to add in the next thing. And what's that next thing going to be, right? So maybe somebody in the EXP Explained is sharing what's happened for them in their business as a testimonial because they've never spoken in front of people before and they're petrified to speak in front of people. And so maybe the win for them is you help them package up, a quick 60-second story of, hey, before I moved to EXP, my business and life was this. And in last year of me being at EXP, now my business and life is this. And here's what's happened. And so now that person has done one thing that they never did before that they were petrified to do. And then you work them up to the next thing. Okay, great. Let's go deep into the pool because that's who you are. That's who I see you as. You're going to present today on our one today. What? You've been here a year. Tell me what you know about those points. Get them prepped. Great. Go talk about that. I got your back and I'll catch you on the rest. Right. And we're developing and replicating and duplicating those leaders. So outside of those two things, what are some other ideas or things that you guys think could intentionally start to grow confidence, posture, true confidence, posture, and certainty?
I would say that just keep leading by example and get people plugged in as much as possible. This is something that I'm dealing with as well, right? Like I'm trying to get people plugged in and, we're doing about 11 hours of training a week and we're doing a lot of stuff. And I'm also in between of okay, this is what we're doing and this is what's available. And then also at the same time, trying to figure out, am I doing the best that I can to really do that? So yeah, I guess I'm just in breakdown with that, right? Trying to figure that out, the balance of where I take responsibility and where other people take responsibility, and then also trying to figure out if I am doing the best. That's kind of what I'm dealing with in this moment.
Yeah. And I think so. Number one, I love that you're asking that question, right? Because that introspection in and of itself will lead to a breakthrough. And one thing that people plugging in, not plugging in, it seems like there's always things that come up, or always, oh, I had a showing. Oh, this was my deal was falling apart and I need to do that instead. Or, there's always something. There's always going to be something, right? And one thing from the structure that I did in what we did with New Skin is that the first of the month, we'd have 30-minute calls with our leaders. And those leaders calls. It was a, a full day, like on the half hour, every half hour. That was an intentional call about what worked from last month, what can be improved, and then what's the intentional plan for this month. And in those conversations, like, here's the next event that's coming up. Here's a really big thing that we're doing this month. Make sure that you're getting this information to your people. And it was a touch point that I haven't instituted or done here per se, but I know that skill sets are transferable and I know how well that worked. So in those conversations, you can see if someone's not plugging in and there may be a larger issue going on. And that creates a space to have that conversation, to even know and then be able to entertain that and go with it. I was at an event, well, you were at the same event last Friday in San Diego, Leo, and there was a lot of people there that I was meeting for the first time or perhaps seeing in person for the first time. And I said, oh, am I going to see you guys at the Build event in a few weeks? And they're like, what's the Build event? Nobody knew about it. And so for every conversation I had, I was like, oh my gosh, let me text you the link for it. I'm going to be there. Like Brent Gove, who brought us into EXP, is going to be there. It's going to be an amazing event. Like, you want to get there. And so I'm like individually texting those things out, right? So we can see like, and then, the next conversation is obviously Miami and EXPCon. And how many people are in that conversation and considering it, or not even, oh, I'm doing less business this year. Oh, I know that I can afford to go to that event. Oh, my twice removed former cousins, brothers, birthday parties that weekend, blah, 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 blah. Versus a more intentional approach of, listen, are you a business professional? Great. This is not like a question of if you go. This is when you go, your belief, your confidence, your posture goes up. How's that going to translate into you doing more business? The relationships that you're going to get there, the potential business that's going to come out of there, and referrals. And then, oh, by the way, the things that you're going to learn that you don't know that you're going to learn that are going to help you in your business. Like, tell me why you would consider not being in Miami in October. Like, because you're getting out of real estate. That would be the only reason. But are we willing to have those kind of conversations with people? Because in the absence of that, then, some bright, shiny something that somebody pitches as a ground floor this or that, and it's going to be the solution to all of your problems, and the accelerator to the business you're not doing is come with us. We'll do that, and then of course that doesn't happen because it's a pitch, right? So as we're just looking at, and I'm asking myself the same questions, Leo, like where am I going to get the biggest return on the investment that I'm making, and where do I invest? Like, where do I continue to invest? Right. And so, so that can be an idea of a, first of the month kind of like, hey, let's create this as a cadence where we've got a touch point that we're checking in. Of course we can talk more than monthly, but that no matter what, we've got a set time each month. And what if you did 20 of those, 20 of those, that's 10 hours of calls on a Monday you knock out. Okay. But it's your 20 key people that you've got, as leaders in your organizations that are plugged in, that know what's going on, so they can disseminate those things to their groups, that see the value of it, and that have built-in support if maybe they wouldn't be asking for support, because it's hard for a lot of people to ask for support. So now you've got a structure that catches and gets rid of the challenges that come up with the human component of being human. Like, I'm going to wait 6 months of misery and suffering and need to be picked up off the floor before I'm going to reach out and say, hey, I've been struggling. Versus, oh, we're talking regularly. What's up? You don't sound yourself. Your energy's off. What's going on? What's working? What can be improved, right? Okay, what else? What are some other ideas in this being intentional around building confidence, true confidence, certainty, clarity, posture?
Yeah, just like for confidence and posture and all that stuff, I'm just like obsessed with like understanding all of the mechanics of EXP, the new things that are happening. Like, I'm always reading the updates, getting on leadership calls, and even if I don't watch them live, I'll try to watch like Leo P, anything that Michael Valdez shares. Trying to basically become a master of what this company offers. So I think that obviously gives us, it gives me the opportunity to just create solutions when I talk to people and have conversations. So just being obsessed about understanding everything that's happening.
Okay, cool.
How much, I do have a question for everybody in here. How much money, how much time do you dedicate towards mastering all of EXP, updating everyone, throwing it on social media, helping other agents? You all have a lot more than I do. So is the majority of your time spent helping those in your group or selling homes? What does that look like? Like Leo, you still sell, I think.
I don't really sell. Yeah. Everything that I do as far as business, it's all referred out. Yeah. So I don't personally sell right now. So I just help the agents sell more real estate. And then I host masterminds, host trainings. I get on calls with new agents that are joining the company, anywhere from 25 to 30 times a week right now of agents that are joining. So I facilitate a lot of those conversations. So it's the balance of those new agents, and then it's also the balance of catering to the agents that we already have within the community.
How many agents are in your group right now?
Active, about 1,700 agents right now.
Okay. That's awesome.
There's one thing that I'm guessing some of you are doing that you haven't realized you're doing, and that's what you listen to and what you read. And what you're putting in is going to also shape your mindset and your confidence. There's a document that we shared that I'm happy to, that we can put it on the website. And it's raise your hand or just let me know. Have you heard of the self-confidence formula by Napoleon Hill? How many of you have used it the way it's designed to be used, which is being memorized and done aloud once in the morning, once at night? Nobody. Okay, so during my, new skin journey, we did this. And it's like, oh yeah, it totally worked, because you're putting your body in the energy of confidence when you say it. I'll give you an example. Just right now, and we're happy to share it. So there's 5 points to it. So, and it would sound something like this. I would do this morning and night. Rick and I would do it together. And I don't have it totally memorized now, but I have a lot of it, from memory. So I've got it up, and it would sound like this. First, I know that I have the ability to achieve the object of my definite purpose in life. Therefore, I demand of myself persistent, continuous action toward its attainment, and I now promise to render such action. Second, I realize the dominating thoughts of my mind will eventually reproduce themselves in outward physical action and gradually transform themselves into physical reality. Therefore, I concentrate my thoughts for 30 minutes daily upon the task of thinking of the person I intend to become, thereby creating in my mind a clear mental picture of that person. Third, I know through the principle of autosuggestion, any desire that I persistently hold in my mind will eventually seek expression through some practical means of attaining the object. Therefore, I devote 10 minutes daily to demanding of myself the development of self-confidence. Fourth, I have clearly written down a description of my definite chief aim in life, and I will never stop until I shall have developed sufficient self-confidence for its attainment. Fifth, I fully realize that no wealth or position can long endure unless built upon truth and justice. Therefore, I will not engage in any transaction which does not benefit all whom it affects. I succeed by attracting to myself the forces I wish to use and the cooperation of other people. I induce others to serve me because of my willingness to serve others. I eliminate hatred, envy, jealousy, selfishness, and cynicism by developing love for all humanity. I know that a negative attitude towards others can never bring me success. I cause others to believe in me because I believe in them and myself. I sign my name to this formula, commit it to memory, and repeat it aloud twice a day with full faith that it is continually influencing my thoughts and actions, affirming my commitment to be a self-reliant and successful leader. I feel different having just said the statement now. So that if you want to be intentional with developing true self-confidence, that is a way of programming your energy, your vibration to match and meet the objective that you're going for in a formula that, is proven. There's not a question as to whether that works or not. The question is, are you going to take the 10 minutes out of the day to do it first thing in the morning, set your energy for the day, and last thing at night before you go to bed, so that no matter what's happened in the bookend of those two things, is that the person that's building and growing and developing, is you. And everything else in time will continue to line up more and more and more. Um, and it's like one of those things. The things that are easy not to do are also the things that are easy to do. And the question just becomes, how much do you want it? How much do you want it? And so we have people that are entering our lives and businesses every day that want something different, which is why they're looking at joining us. And so how do we create a path for people to walk where they're going to actually create something different? Because I look back on the years that I spent full time in Nu Skin, and those years, it's not about the business or any of the money that came from that business or the money that still comes from that business. It's about that business because of all of the personal development work I did day in and day out to go out and do the business. I was changing myself. And so I can look at those years and say that business raised me. It groomed me, and it gave me the foundation that those skill sets, those transferable skill sets to be applied here within EXP. I'm bringing the me that I grew and developed for those 13 years to this platform and to this conversation. Not that that's ever done, it's continual, but that was like my life depended on it every day, because of where things were at life, right? In life. And then we get more successful and we get, maybe a little complacent even, because the pain that existed at one time is less than it was at a certain point in time before. And that's the time to like recenter and, refocus and go, okay. I was on a call yesterday with Dan McCormick. He's been in the industry for 40 years and he's like one of the greats. And he said, I've got 10 kids. I got a place on the lake in Coeur d'Alene, and I don't feel like doing anything, and I don't have to do anything now. I want to spend time with my kids and my grandkids and be on the lake. And then he read, his wife kicked him out, and she's like, "No, you're going to the annual convention. You've never missed one. It's been 25 years." And he went and ends up picking up Miracle Morning, which is one of the books he hadn't read yet. And then he's like, I realized, it's time for me to be the best human I can be. Like, it's time to go all in on me. And so he, is like in the deep end of the pool. He's like, I already have a morning routine of reading and meditating and praying and working out, but he's doing it differently now. And so is now on the next, layer of growth. And he said something that I thought was so brilliant. When the future gets big, the present gets better. When the future gets big, the present gets better. And so when you think about a big future and what that means for you, like defined on your terms, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially, contribution, impact, whatever that is, the smaller the future you see, the harder your day-to-day is going to be. The bigger the future that you see and that you're working towards, the day-to-day is like, okay, what are we doing today to pick it up a notch to do that, right? And I believe that EXP is, and real estate and entrepreneurship and all the things that we're doing and the people that we're aligning with and attracting and the work that we do, it is a personal development vehicle with a business attached to it. And the people that are developing themselves personally and committed to that level of development are the ones that you're going to see that have the posture, that have the confidence, that have the certainty, that have the clarity, that have the results, that create the impact, that go on to do just bigger and bigger things. I mean, Joseph, you're a great example of that, right? And just how you have, taken everything that you did working in government service and you translated the discipline, learned new skills, learned how to sell real estate, and then EXP comes your way and you keep doing that, and you're selling, and now you're building an organization and have continued to, develop your brand and your impact. And now you've got more eyeballs, and now that's led into other platforms and other opportunities that are giving you, a bigger global stage. And like that will continue to develop and grow. And the training ground for that is everything that you've done before now. Right. And so if we go back to this idea of when the future gets big, the present gets better, what are we doing? You know, what is that future? Are we clear on what that future is and what we're walking into? Okay, we've got 7 minutes before the top of the hour. Thoughts, comments, feedback, questions, comments, anything you feel inspired to share, ask, do, don't do, whatever you want.
I would just like to say that this is very, very inspiring and gives me some things to think about. And I just want to say your speech last week at the Winter Circle Soiree was absolutely amazing. Touched my heartstrings. And yeah, I'm just going to look for a bigger future so my present is better.
I love it. Thank you for sharing, Amanda. And it was so good to meet you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Who else? Open up the window here. What else?
Yeah, I'm excited about just getting back to the basics, and just like I actually was going through this morning. I was reflecting on like I want to start over from zero. Like I want to just literally scratch everything that I'm doing up until this point and have that mindset of like starting over from ground zero and basically just just getting more intentional, making a new list, attracting new people to the organization, and then just keep being the embodiment of like inspiration for everyone around me. And I love this monthly check-in, so I'm going to definitely take that on as well, as part of my monthly to do for sure.
I love that. So what we would do is we just scheduled like same time on the first of the month. So each person grab a slot. That's your time. We don't reschedule it. Like no matter what happens, we keep that time. And we would call them monthly consultation calls. And that was that consultant. I would offer one thing because it was really powerful in your language. It is shift starting from zero. So that starting from zero doesn't go out into the ether, and shift that to waking up every day, creating from possibility, which is fresh, not
I like
from
that.
before, from like to create something new, better, different. It comes to that creation comes out of nothing, right? We create something from nothing. So it's more of this context of being clean, like clean and blank canvas versus zero, because there's so much value and lessons and amazing things and everything that's already come till now that exists. So we want to keep that, of course, right? But then I think of it like a new chapter, a new book. Like, okay, this is the foundation. We've got the foundation in place, and now it took a certain XYZ to create this foundation, and now on top of that foundation, I'm going to take what I learned there. However, I'm going to go to new. This is going to be fresh. It's going to be a clean slate. It's going to be energetically what I deem it to be, not anything from that has come before now. Just something to play with in the however you end up looking at it or language wise.
I love it. Thank you for that feedback. Yeah, I'm going to build on the foundation I've built.
With a new Leo, with an even more optimized energy, with an accelerated. Dan said something the other day that was great as well. He said, I'm a magnet for miracles.
Yeah. Hey,
Okay.
Casey.
Yeah.
I wanted to add or just kind of maybe plant some seed here. I was having a conversation. I know there's only a couple minutes with my best friend I grew up with. He was like a senior vice president at another kind of MLM company, WFG, right? And so he actually overseen kind of Ed Milet, who everybody knows. Anyways, we were having a conversation about growth because he asked me like, how's EXP doing? Because he's been tracking us from the beginning. And we had a conversation about like kind of like where we're at right now in realistic conversations where there's, not accelerated growth like we've been experiencing in years past, but there's still growth, right? And so he was shedding a little light with me about like his experience at WFG over the last 15 years. Now he spearheads Patrick Bet David's old group as president there. And he was sharing with me like, hey, like the conversation that you may want to be having with some of your leaders is such that, yeah, we're not having 3, 4, 500% growth, but we're still having growth that is far beyond what other people are having. And that creates confidence, and that creates a conversation of positivity, as opposed to we're not growing and everybody else is, right? So the narrative conversation behind it. So it was powerful. I just thought I'd share it with us here because it's a slightly different perspective and also a real conversation that can be had.
I love that. I love that. And the truth is, regardless of, I mean, that's great. You know, EXP is still growing. That's fantastic. And that our growth in our organizations is not dependent on reliant on EXP growing or not growing, because we're the ones that are in control of that growth. And so that is also, you know, another layer that's really powerful, is that regardless what's going on anywhere around us, we have the ability to keep growing. We know how to grow, obviously, because we've grown it to this point. We know what we did to grow to this point. And so while those strategies, some of them we may keep and some of them we may refine based on, you know, a different marketplace, a different time, is that it is the people that are here that are committed to growing, and we will control the fact whether we grow or not. And, you know, good for EXP as a company, if EXP as a company as a whole is growing, because we're growing. And hopefully it stays that way, right? But it doesn't mean that we are not able to stay in growth, you know, for our organizations and our businesses. So we've got you know, the wherewithal of a proven track record and a great model to do that with them. So all right, it is the top of the hour, and I am booked, as is Selena, into our next call. So we're going to jump for now, but appreciate each and every one of you showing up, your contributions, the opportunity to be in business and conversation with you. And this recording will be housed on the Empire Builders Pro website on our YouTube channel under the Builders Calls. And we will look forward to seeing you on Friday for the Free Friday coaching call. We're having Elizabeth Riley, who everyone that's on this call and in any of your organizations, she is our senior partner, because without her, there would be no Brent Gove and Jean Frederick. So, all right. Make it a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.